Graysen, is the Federal Reserve and the IRS all bullshit?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. See, first we have to understand how money works, and then we can explain why the Federal Reserve and the IRS are connected. You see, the Federal Reserve Bank is neither a bank, nor is it federal, nor is there any reserve. Easiest way to look at the Federal Reserve is like a big company, a corporation, and their main product that they put out is something called US dollars. And their job is to make sure that we all use those dollars and to maintain a strong demand for those dollars. Sometimes when our government needs more money, more dollars, that company, called the Federal Reserve Bank, will just print up more dollars out of thin air.
But Graysen, how could you call this a company when it doesn't abide by any of the rules or laws that all companies must abide by?
Because, for example, even though it is basically just a privately held company, you can't charge them taxes because they could just print up more money and pay those taxes. You can't create laws to force the Federal Reserve to do what you want them to do because they can literally print money and then buy the politicians to get them to say and do what they want to create the laws that they want. So the best way to look at it is like a company that's a perfect monopoly that controls every other company.
But Graysen, I don't understand.
There's not really that much to understand, but it's hard for us to understand because it's so far outside of our reality that I might have to simplify it even more for you. Let me see what I can do for you here, puppet. See, this company creates something called a dollar, and we're going to pretend that this paper towel is a dollar. And they can literally print it out of thin air. Now, this paper towel has a unit of production. It can absorb things. But when the Federal Reserve prints dollars, they effectively create more dollars out of thin air. This does not increase the production or the absorbency of the paper towel, so it literally makes each dollar less valuable.
But how does that relate to you and me and the federal taxes?
Well, you see, you and I work for dollars, and if the Federal Reserve just prints them out of thin air, it means that our pay has gone down. For example, if they double the amount of paper towels that exist, they have not increased the amount of absorbency. What they've done is they've made it that we now need 2 paper towels to absorb the same amount of liquid. Or if it were dollars, we would need twice as many dollars to buy the same thing.
This sounds like inflation.
That's exactly what it is. This is called inflation.
So you're saying the reason why prices are going up is because they're actually lowering the value of the dollar by printing more of it out of thin air?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The average worker, their income doesn't double. It's that they now must work twice as many hours to get as many dollars as they need. The printing of the dollar is kind of like a form of enslavement to those people that are dependent on dollars.
But if that's the case, why doesn't the government regulate that?
The government doesn't regulate the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve basically regulates the government because they can print the dollars.
What? But Graysen, if they can print dollars out of thin air, why do we have to pay taxes? Can't they just print the money themselves and then pay themselves using the same pieces of paper that they used in the first place?
Well, puppet, you see, for the US dollar to have value, we have to agree it has value.
But how do they make it have value?
Simple. In order for us to legally reside in this country, we have to pay our taxes using US dollars. And by us paying those dollars, it's like our saying to the Federal Reserve that we agree that those dollars have value.
Wait a second. So you're saying that they print dollars out of thin air, and then they force us to pay them back some of that just to confirm back to them that they have value?
Yes. Think of the US dollar like a crypto coin that nobody's ever heard of. You see, you have to get people to use it in order for that coin to have value. And in this case, what they've done is they simply tax us, and by us having to pay them back using those dollars, it reaffirms that the dollar has value.
What? What? What?
I know, it kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Graysen, this sounds very manipulative. It's almost like they're enslaving people.
The pictures on those pieces of paper are actually pictures of old dead white slave owners.
Who's behind all this?
The banks. You see, every transaction that you and I make involves a dollar. And on the other side of that dollar, there's a bank. Indirectly or directly, our time goes towards the banks.
So you're saying that we're all slaves?
Not necessarily. We could denounce the dollar and go live out in the woods, out in the mountains, live off the land and things like that. But as long as we live in what's called a capitalist society, we have to play by the rules of capital, and those rules were created by the banking system.
So let me just recap what I think I'm hearing you say here, Graysen. The Federal Reserve prints money, and by us using that money, we agree to our own enslavement.
That's right, Puppet. You've heard the saying before that time is money. Well, what that means is that you spend your time in return for pictures of old dead white presidents.
But Graysen, what's all this stuff I hear about the debt ceiling and raising that? What's that all about?
Well, they've printed up all these dollars, and that gives the Federal Reserve the right to literally print more dollars out of thin air. And what they'll do with those dollars is they'll use those to pay off the US government's debt.
Okay, but how does that relate to me?
Simple. Remember, the more dollars that they print, they're not increasing the productivity. What they're doing is they're watering down the supply of dollars. And that means that every time they print more money out of thin air, you and I have to work longer to get the same amount of absorbency or production from our dollars.
What about crypto? What about going to another country? Can we do something like that?
Well, we can use crypto, but the problem is that even, for example, if we buy and sell things using Bitcoin, we will still have to pay taxes on those transactions. For example, if you have made capital gains on your crypto, you're going to have to pay those capital gains taxes using US dollars.
I hate this!
Most of us do, but that's the system that we live in today.
If you found this video interesting, please comment in the section below in the form of tears.
Thanks again for watching. Please do like and subscribe. It really does help the algorithm. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.